You are listening to the Intelligent Vocalist Podcast, episode 186.
Welcome to the Intelligent Vocalist with John Henny. This is the podcast dedicated to help you be a smarter, better, more informed singer. And now, your host for the Intelligent Vocalist, John Henny.
Hey there, this is John Henny. Welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Vocalist. I do so appreciate you spending this precious listening time with me. So, as I'm in here recording, I just finished up recording bonus warm-ups for my book, Beginning Singing. And by the time this podcast is released, the book will likely be out. So go to Amazon and just type in my name, John Henny, and look for my book, Beginning Singing. It's my third book. I'm very excited. I've been putting together all kinds of materials for the supplemental website, and that's free to everyone who has the book. You just go to beginningsingingbook.com and register for the materials. You will definitely want the book to go along with what's on the website. I don't know if it will make much sense as a standalone, but I did record some warm-ups / workouts. They're about 18 minutes long, both for men and women, and it utilizes all of the concepts and material that's in the book. And I'm really, really excited. I know I've said that before, but this book, the hardest book I've written, my third book, this one took me closer to a year. Last year I released 2 books, and it's been 10 or 11 months since I released my last book. And I've been working on this one pretty much straight and just trying to get the concepts right, trying to really target it down to the audience, people who haven't taken lessons before. They're just beginning lessons. It's also, there's stuff in there for intermediate and more advanced singers, but I want the book to be accessible if you've never had a singing lesson. And so I'm very excited to get it out there and to see what everyone thinks. Let me know if you get the book and you're going through, just send me an email, john@johnhenny.com. I'd love to know what you think. And the book will be free for a very brief period. And then after that, it's only going to be 99 cents on Kindle. So if you want to know about that, get on my email list. Just go to my website, johnhenny.com. All right. Today, I want to talk about the developing voice, or what to expect as your voice improves. One of the things that makes learning to sing a bit easier in the beginning is when you have an imbalance, when something is wrong, it's usually pretty obvious and a pretty large lever to pull. Very often when someone comes in for a first lesson, there are going to be a few factors that are likely going to be a problem. Whether it's not enough vocal fold closure or resistance, if there's an issue with breathing, if the vowels are going too wide and the singer's starting to shout as they go into their upper register, those can be fixed pretty quickly. Well, those can be adjusted pretty quickly. They can't necessarily be fixed pretty quickly. And what voice teachers will do, or when I train voice teachers, what I teach them to do is when there's an imbalance, I have them make an overcorrection in the opposite direction so that the imbalances are kind of broad strokes and then the fixes are broad strokes. And the idea is, as the ship is lilting to one side, you make an overcorrection to pull it to center. And so when you are practicing, it's going to be more obvious. The exercises you're going to do are going to tend to be exaggerated. They're going to tend to make things easier. You're not necessarily going to be making these great sounds in the beginning, but as you're progressing, it's going to be more obvious what you need to do. Now, here comes the rub. As you get better, the changes and shifts you need to make become more and more subtle. And I will often tell singers, as they start to reach this point, I warn them, this is when it can become a little frustrating, because the voice, very small changes yield huge differences in the result, because each element of the voice will affect another element. The air you send to the vocal folds, the folds resist the air, compress the air molecules, open up, those compressed air molecules spring apart, they vibrate, they become sound waves. The sound waves are filtered through the vocal tract through changes with your tongue, jaw, lips, laryngeal height. And you hear those as changes in vowel, changes in color, and then the sound goes out to the listener. But it's not A to B to C to D, air to vocal cords to vocal tract to listener. It is A to B to C, back to B, back to A. In other words, the energy from the vocal tract and the resonance will push back down on the vocal folds, which will affect how the vocal folds resist the air, which will affect how you are sending the air to the folds. And it starts this circle rather than a straight line. And any change within these elements reflect back to the other elements, and you get these wild changes in vocal output. And you will go to sing something, and you'll feel it maybe go a little too dark and overclosed and squeezed. And you think, oh, okay, well, I'll open that vowel up a little bit. And you end up shouting, and you get this completely different shift. And you think, oh my gosh, now I guess I got to close the vowel down again. And now you're back to this squeezing and flipping, and then you're back to the yelling. And it just feels like this ping pong of extremes. But what you need to do is actually start making smaller and smaller changes. And this is tricky, knowing what to change and how much to change it. And this also gets into what I talked about a few podcasts ago, this inner and outer game, because these little tiny changes get into these minute inner instructions. And if we get too bogged down into the minutia, we start to lose the bigger picture of singing. But if we stay too much in the bigger picture of just singing, we'll feel ourselves ping-ponging back and forth between these extremes and not being able to get a handle on it. So what I urge is patience as you start to get better. You need to keep honing your mind and your ears, really paying attention to the results you're getting. When you make a change and you get a certain result, even if you don't like the result, don't throw that away. Don't go, oh, that was wrong. Analyze what happened. How far away were you from your goal? And then make a change. Do it again, and then analyze the result. Did you get closer or did you get further away? And these changes are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, the good news is, as you keep working these micro changes, you can start paying more attention to the bigger outside game of singing. Just sensations in general. Just feeling the energy, feeling the emotion, feeling the communication. And then when it goes off, then you go back to the micro adjustments. But what I don't want you to do is, as you start improving, don't think you're getting worse. You're actually very likely not getting worse. You are getting better, unless you're just willy-nilly trying every YouTube lesson that you see at random and working yourself into frustration. But if you're working with a teacher, if you're working with a course, if you're following some sort of organized progression, you are very likely improving. And what's happening is your skills are getting better, your concepts are getting better, your ear is getting better, and you're getting more discerning. And so the imbalances and imperfections that you see and hear in your voice stand out more starkly as compared to what you want. Your ideas of your vocal ideal are becoming more and more refined, and you're becoming likely more self-critical. And so you have to watch about beating yourself up. You have to step back and remove yourself emotionally from this path of improving. You can't get caught up in, I had a bad vocal day, I suck, I can't do this. That is the road to nowhere. You have to be slightly dispassionate in your analysis. And I've counseled singers to think of their voice as something outside of themselves. I've told the story. I remember Andrea Bocelli speaking of his voice as a wild horse that he needed to tame. And I think that's a brilliant way to look at the instrument. Rather than thinking there was something wrong with him, the voice now became something separate. It was this wild animal. And you can't expect a wild horse to instantly behave. It is a process. And you're not going to get angry at the wild horse. You're going to have patience if you know what you're doing with animals. And you have to have patience with your voice. And as you get better, this may be a time to seek out a good teacher. And with what's going on now, just about every teacher has gone online because of the way the pandemic has affected particularly teachers of singing and because of the risks associated with singing lessons in person. So there are so many good teachers online right now. And there are teachers to fit different budgets. I really suggest getting the best teacher you can afford, but that doesn't mean there aren't good teachers at lower price levels. You may just have to do a bit of research and a bit of trying. And don't be afraid to go to another teacher if you don't feel you're getting the results you want from a teacher you're with. But you have to be, it gets harder as you get better to improve in singing. And you really have to be diligent, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to be focused, and you have to be a little more forgiving of yourself. Watch that your expectations don't trip you up as your expectations for yourself become greater. And look, that's a fantastic thing to expect more of yourself, but it's also a trap because you can lead yourself into frustration. Everything is a balance. So I just want you to know that as you move from a beginning singer to an intermediate singer, it's going to seem like it's getting harder. It may feel like you're getting worse. You may find yourself getting more frustrated. This is the path. This is the path to improvement. And you have to expect it, be on guard for it, and don't allow yourself to become consumed by it. Just know that you will have to practice probably more. You will have to be more focused, more mentally aware. In the beginning, you don't really know what you're doing. And again, you're just making these huge broad strokes. So the mental focus is not that high, but when you're making micro adjustments in the vowel and playing with vocal fold resistance and working on crescendo, getting louder, and then decrescendoing on a sustain, and all of these fine, subtle balances, it's a bit mentally taxing. And so give yourself a break as well. Don't push beyond where you're getting results in your practice. Take little breaks. Keep yourself mentally fresh. Make sure you're getting rest. Make sure you're coming into the practice room with a good attitude. This becomes more and more important the better you get. And as you move from intermediate to advanced and even professional singing, it just becomes harder in a way. The expectations become higher. You're more discerning, ever and ever more discerning, and the adjustments will get smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's the beauty of becoming great at something, is sticking through and having that mental focus and the strength and determination to keep getting better. And I really wish that for you, to feel the rewards of that. But again, you will feel frustration. You will feel like, oh my gosh, maybe this isn't for me. And you need to not fall into the trap. Expect more of yourself. Push yourself, but also be understanding and kind with yourself. Be fair to yourself as you get better. And you will be so blessed and so rewarded. And the people who listen to you sing are going to be in for a real treat. Hey, if you want to know more about me, please visit my website, johnhenny.com. Be sure to sign up for my free vocal warm-up course. It'll show you how to warm up with a straw, which is all the rage lately. And until next time, to better singing. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.